Today's portion of Parabolas is about word problems. And once again, you will probably all groan when you hear that, but it's okay. We're going to get better at them, I promise. The more you work at them, the more you practice, the better you're going to get. Suppose the sum of two numbers is 20. If the sum of two numbers is 20, I might call one of them x, okay, because we need to figure out, what those two numbers are. But then the other one would actually just be 20 minus x, because remember that they're adding up to 20. So if one is x, the other one is just the difference between 20 and x, right? 20 minus x. So then the product of them, I would just write as the product as a function of x is going to be x times 20 minus x, right? I'm just multiplying the two numbers as I've called them in terms of x. So then my final value for the product would be 20x minus x squared. Let's say I wanted to figure out what the maximum value of this product is. So if we notice, this is actually a parabola, right? Because it has a squared x and a non-squared y. So I replace p of x with y, and then I'm going to complete the square. So I brought the negative over with the y, and now 2 alpha is equal to negative 20, which means that alpha squared will be 100, which is going to be what I add to both sides of my equation. So it'll be negative y plus 100 is equal to x minus 10, that's x plus alpha, right, squared. So then y minus 100 is equal to, once I bring the negative back, negative x minus 10 squared. So this is an upside down parabola. It's opening down, which means it has a maximum value where my k is, right? The y coordinate of my vertex, which means the maximum value is going to be 100. Okay, so you just look to the k value, the thing that's added or subtracted with y in order to find the maximum or the minimum value of a parabola. Let's suppose we have another problem where we have 20 members in a ski club, and they're each going to be paying a certain amount of membership. The membership is going to be $8. That's their dues, right? But let's say that they kind of want to encourage new membership. So for every new member that they receive, they're actually going to reduce this $8 fee by 10 cents for each new member. So we're trying to figure out here what is kind of like the ideal situation where the ski club is making the most money. So I'm going to ask two questions. The first one is, how much money will the club have if it recruits 10 new people, 15 new people, and then, we could use a general term like n new people, right? And try to find a general equation, which is actually what I'm going to do first rather than finding out who the 10 are, or how much the 15 would get the club, how much the 10 would get the club. I'm just going to find it generally in terms of n, and then I'll just plug in 10 and 15 for n. It'll be a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and kind of map this out. So n is the number of new members, and I also have the number of total members. The number of total members is going to be 20 plus n, right? Because I start with 20 members, and then I'm adding n number of new members. Remember that the rate per member is $8, but then I'm going to subtract 10 cents for every new member. So what I would do is do 10 cents times the number of new members, right? So if there's 4 new members, I would subtract 40 cents. 10 new members, it would be, $1, etc. So here I'm going to make a general equation, and my function is going to be the A of n, right? Which is going to be the amount of money for the club, like how much they get, as a function of the number of new members that they're receiving. So again, the total members is going to be 20 plus n, and what I would do is I would multiply the total members with the rate per member to figure out how much money the club is getting. And this is my function. It's very simple, right? I've already kind of mapped everything out, so it's quite easy for me. Next thing I would do is plug in 10 to see how much money the club is going to get with 10 members. It's going to turn into 30 times 7, which is equal to $210. I would do the same thing with 15 members now. 20 plus 15 times 8 minus 0.1 times 15, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring in my calculator here, plug all this in here. So I get 20 plus 15, which is 35. I'm going to multiply it with 8 minus 0.1 times 15, which ends up with $227.50. So that's the amount of money I would get with 15 members. But now let's say that the club really wants to know, what is our ideal membership, right? What is the thing the number of new members that's going to give us a maximum amount of money, right? Because that's the goal of this club in the long run, not just to have a lot of members, but also to kind of maximize their profit here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my function a of n, I'm going to replace a of n with y. And then I'm going to solve for the standard form of the parabola. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm dividing by 0.1, or you could think of multiplying by 10. So I get 10y is equal to 1600 plus 60n minus n squared. And then I'm going to bring that negative over, and then I'm going to add the 1600 to both sides so that I'm ready to complete the square. My 2 alpha will be equal to negative 60. My alpha will be equal to negative 30. Alpha squared will be equal to 900. So I'm going to add 900 to both sides of my equation. So then I get negative 10y plus 2500 is equal to n minus 30 squared. So the last step is to bring the negative 10, divide by negative 10. I do the reverse of what I did at the very beginning and kind of moved that 10 over to the other side. Now I'm moving it back finally. And then, so now that I've brought that negative 10 back, I have negative 1/10 times n minus 30 squared. So this is a parabola. The vertex is going to be 30, 250. Right, so 250 corresponds with the amount of money, right, because y was replacing a of n, right, the amount of money that the club has. So that's a maximum amount of money, but it occurs when we have 30 new members, right? That was our n value. So then we figured out what the ideal new members is for that ski club. Let's go ahead and take an example with a circuit. Let's suppose that this particular circuit has a certain resistance and a certain voltage. So the resistance is going to be 16 ohms, which is a symbol that looks like that. And then the voltage is going to be 120 volts. This isn't really important for this problem because they're actually just going to give us equation directly. So they say that the power of this particular circuit, which I'm going to use P to stand for power, in terms of current I, is going to be P is equal to 120I minus 16I squared. And then what they want us to do is figure out what the maximum power is and where that maximum power occurs, right? For what current is that going to occur? So I have to complete the square on this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is divide everything by negative 16. So I'll get negative 1/16 times P is equal to I squared minus, I believe I get 7.5 for 120 divided by negative 16. So then I end up with I squared minus 7.5i. So 2 alpha is going to be negative 7.5 in this case. Alpha will be negative 3.75. And then when I square alpha, I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so it's going to be 14.0625. That's what I add to both sides of my equation. And then since I've completed the square, I know it can factor into the form of a square. So this is going to be I plus alpha squared, right? Or I minus 3.75 squared. So then the last thing I need to do is bring that negative 16, which I originally divided by, multiply it back so I can have it on the other side of the equation. And I end up with P minus 225 is equal to negative 16 times I minus 3.75. So therefore the maximum power, right, it corresponds with the K value of the vertex, is 225 watts, right, and it occurs when the current is 3.75 amps. So we just get that from our vertex of our parabola. Good luck on your homework and have a great day.